Good afternoon, everybody. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, dear participants. Following the Regional Challenge Fund planned activities of info and tutorial sessions, let me welcome you to the second and last tutorial session we'll be having today in North Macedonia. For those who are new to this session, my name is 𝗪𝗲𝗏 𝗪𝗲𝗏. I'm part of the Regional Challenge Fund Management Unit as a regional coordinator, and I'll be the moderator of this webinar. For this webinar to be a flawless and pleasant experience, we also have our technical support team with us. And I'll go straight to my colleague Alexandra to share some technical recommendations. Please, Alexandra.
Thank you, Mr. Vasily. Dear attendees, welcome to the second tutorial and Q&A session in North Macedonia. The webinar provides interpretation in Macedonian. Click the interpretation icon, globe icon on the Zoom toolbar to activate simultaneous translation. Choose the language you want to hear from the language menu, English or Macedonian audio channel. You may mute the original sound with the Mute Original Audio button in the language menu. You may ask questions in the Q&A box. The questions will be answered during the webinar in written or spoken form by the panelists. Some attendees will have a chance to ask questions live. To ask a question live, press Raise Hand button located in the Zoom toolbar. The moderator will call you up and allow you to speak. Before you join the live program, check your audio settings and turn on your microphone. You may contact technical support or other attendees through the chat option located in the Zoom toolbar. When using the chat box, choose To All Panelists and Attendees option located in the chat room. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. I'd like to shortly introduce my colleagues who are here with me today, Mr. 𝗲𝗏 𝗪𝗲, the team leader of the Fund Management Unit, and Mr. 𝗪𝗏 Regional Coordinator. We'll start with two presentations. The first one on the Grant Management Portal and Application Module, and the second on the budgeting template and budgeting items, which aim to help you with the budget preparation and to have a better understanding on the budgeting process. You heard about the chat and the Q&A option from my colleague Alexandra, as well as the asking questions live. So feel free to use it during the webinar. I would, however, kindly invite you to ask questions as we go with the presentations in order to be time efficient. And for the other questions related to the application process, eligibility, selection criteria, we'll address them after the presentations. Before starting with the presentations, as I mentioned, I would like to repeat a few words on the Regional Challenge Fund. As you watch the introductory video, the Regional Challenge Fund aims to strengthen the labor market relevance of vocational education and training by funding investments in equipment and infrastructure for training providers that engage in cooperative training activities with partnering enterprises. By working with both parties, VET providers and enterprises, the fund seeks to raise the overall quality of VET and align it with the needs of the labor market in the individual countries throughout the region. This will support the increased employability of young people and graduates, and will contribute as well to economic growth and a better and faster regional integration. The Regional Challenge Fund is commissioned by the German government to KfW Development Bank and is being executed by the Western Balkan 6 Chambers Investment Forum. This is a joint initiative of Chambers of Commerce from WB6 countries. The chambers have established this platform of cooperation in 2017 to provide a joint voice to the business community in the region, facilitating inter-business contacts and promoting the region as one investment destination. In North Macedonia, CIF, the Chamber Investment Forum, is being represented by the Economic Chamber of Macedonia. The operational and financial management of the Regional Challenge Fund is delegated to the implementation consultant, a consortia of 4 international companies and institutions, namely 𝗵𝗵𝗶 Swiss Contract at KPMG, who together have a combined extensive experience with professional management of large projects, including those on vocational education and training, and have as well an extensive regional footprint with local presence and large network within public and private sector. The fund management unit is the core operational entity of the fund. I introduced earlier my colleagues, Mr. 𝗲𝗏 and Mr. 𝗪𝗏𝗀𝗏. And I would like to give the word now to Pavel to start with the presentation on the application module in the grant management system. So please, Pavel, the floor is for you.
Thank you, Renato. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you can see my presentation now.
Yes.
Let me guide. Okay, thank you. Let me guide you through the grant management portal. Let's start with the registration screen. I think it's all of you have already experienced and went through this process, through these steps, but if we have any enterprises participating here on the tutorial session, I would like to show this screen also to them so they know what they have to go through before they can join the system, the portal. And after they are invited, and also this is the same for applicants, when they click on button apply online, they will get the registration screen here where they need to enter a couple of information. All the fields which are marked with red asterisks are mandatory fields, and that's the valid throughout the whole application you will be completing. So before you before you will be able to submit your application, you will need to complete all these fields which are marked with the red asterisks. After the registration, you are able to log into the system, and on the left-hand side, you will see a little dashboard with few options. And for you, the most important is My Applications, where you will open, first of all, for those who will come for the first time, you will start or open your application. And once you will be returning to your application, you will see this little table with the button resume, which means that after clicking on resume, you will be able to continue in completion of the information within your application. After you open up with resume button, the application, you get to the summary page. That's initial page of your application. And here, I just want to emphasize again, because there has been some confusion about the reference number. Here at the top, you will see the number expression of interest abbreviation and the number which represents the reference number of the application. And this will be the number you will be registered in our system, in also for the evaluators when they will be reviewing. And also it is important for us, when you come back to us with queries, with questions, please state these reference numbers. So for us, it's easier to look up into the system and see whether you have any issues with certain sections. So at the top of each page, you will see certain text, which represents guiding notes or instructions, where we try to describe how you should proceed in order to complete particular section or page you will be at. At the bottom part, you will see a little table with 9 sections. And on this table, you also see the status of completion of individual sections. So in case you have partly completed, it is in progress. In case you did not start it yet, it's not started. And once you complete particular section, then you will see the green box with word complete. Here, it's important to say that there is no need or rule that you have to follow up the sections with your completion. You can complete any of the sections you want to in the order you select, you opt for, and basically you can save work in progress. So you don't need to complete all the fields in individual sections, and you can always return to that particular section to complete it. Here it's important to also understand these two buttons, application and participant. So with application, you will see the summary of all sections. And if you click on participants, this represents the partner enterprises within the vet consortium you established. And after you click on this button, you will see again some guidance notes, some instruction text, how to proceed with the invitation of the enterprises into the application process. And at the bottom, you will see a little table where you will need to invite the enterprise. When you click on invite, you will see the little screen with the invitation information. You will need to complete this with the name, last name, and email, and add personal message to the partner enterprise, which is up to you to prepare. And when you click the send invitation, the system automatically send the email to the email address which you stated here. And your partner enterprise will receive the email with your personal message, plus there will be additional instructions from the system, how to access the portal, how to register, etc. So basically to follow the same procedure you did when you register with the system. Once the information will be completed for the enterprises, you will see in this little table, this green box with complete. And to finalize this summary page information, when the enterprises will get access to the application, then they will see a little bit different screen as you do, as VTI, as a leading applicant has. Here you will see only sections number 3 and 4 with the button edit for the enterprises, and the other buttons will be just buttons called view. That means the enterprises are unable to edit all the other sections, which is sort of protection not to accidentally to change some information which you have already completed into application. Although the enterprises have the choice to edit, have the ability to edit these two sections, we still recommend that it is leading applicant, it is VTI, who is going to complete all the information, including also information about the enterprises. And then will be the moment when you invite the enterprises into the application, and they will be only reviewing the information and confirming their participation, which I will show in section 3, which is related to the enterprises information. I will pause here. Do we have any questions regarding the access or summary page?
There's a question, Pavel, on if there is a second VTI, where and how it should be invited in the system.
Okay.
Because at this stage, they only see the vet consortia enterprises and the additional enterprises. So if you could please.
Okay, I can already mention now, but in the system, we created fields for 2 VTIs. So exactly the same fields for 2 VTIs, while the one which will be inserted as the first one is considered to be the leading applicant. So in section where I will go shortly, I will show you the information about VTI, and that will be the place where you can insert the information about both VTIs.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other question related to this section?
Okay, we have somebody, Mr.
Yeah, there is a
Ewski.
just Mr. 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏
than 2 enterprises, and what will happen if one of them does not succeed to fill in the required fields by the given deadline? Will it be possible to apply for the VT at all? Yeah.
All right, understood. Therefore, we recommend that it is VTI, yeah, as a leading applicant, which will be completing all the information, also on behalf of enterprises. Yeah? So we don't recommend that you leave the space to enterprises to fulfill their information themselves, but you should do that yourself as a VTI, and only once it is all completed, you invite, that will be the moment when you invite the enterprises to participate on the project, and they will be just reviewing the information in the application. So don't rely on them to fill in the information. And the question you ask has a simple answer: until all the invited participating enterprises will not confirm their participation through button, which I will show you in section 3, you will not be able to submit the application. The leading applicant will not see the button submit application until all the participating enterprises will not confirm their participation.
Fine, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Eva. Pavel, you can continue and we take the other questions later.
All right, thank you. So let's move to section 1, which is about the eligibility criteria. So here we have a series of questions or statements which you need to reply to. And in case you would reply in a way that you wouldn't be compliant, then the system would give you automated message to inform you that you are not compliant with certain eligibility criteria, and you will be not able to submit your application. You will be not eligible to submit your application. This is very similar system for all other sections, because if you miss to complete any field which is marked with the red asterisk, which is mandatory field, you will also receive automated message from the system that you still need to complete certain fields which will be specified, and only then you will be able to submit your application. Any questions regarding eligibility criteria?
There is one question here. Pavel, just a second.
Mm-hmm.
Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Please. We cannot hear you. If you can, please unmute yourself, Tanya. No, we don't hear you. Any other question, please? No. Okay, Pavel, go ahead.
All right, we have some more raised hands. I don't know if it's regard to the section 1.
There's the same person I see here, but
okay, all right, okay, let's move on.
Let's take this question from 𝗪𝗶𝗂 𝗥𝗲𝗴𝗶. Just a second. Please, 𝗪𝗶𝗂.
Добър ден, дали се слуша?
Да.
Yes, we can.
Да. Едно праше Љубица Невеселова од средното училиште од Валандово. Околу подобноста. Дали фирмата која што ќе биде дел од конзорциумот треба да има иста машина каква што ќе порача самото училиште? Е прашањето. Дали машината која што ќе ја порача училиштето, која ќе сака да ја набави, треба да ја има и во фирмата која што ќе биде дел од конзорциумот? Дали бев разбрана?
Well, I think we understood the question, but I don't know if it somehow relates to eligibility criteria. Well, I'm not fully aware that we have any of such a eligibility criteria, but just to answer your question, it's fully up to the participants of that consortium. How do they agree? They want to make sure that the training program they are going to participate on or cooperate on is going to be as efficient, as effective as possible. So it's really up to them to arrange what type of machines, tool, equipment they want to utilize within the training program to make sure that is as much practical as possible. So we are not really demanding any specifics on machines or tools you are going to use. It's entirely up to that consortium participants to agree what's the most suitable way to carry on the cooperative training.
Thank you, Pavel.
Да, значи ние како училиште заедно со компанијата треба да го најдеме најдобриот начин или да го најдеме најдобриот начин на соработка, да бидат се со цел да имаме соодветна обука на учениците, да. И сега кога станува збор околу обуката, кој ја спроведува, кој треба да ја спроведува обуката? Не ни е вака јасно баш. Кој треба да ги спроведува обуките?
Renato, well, if I understood the question well, I mean the training is carried on by the school or basically the training institute, whatever it might be, and plus in the enterprises there will be a designated person in company trainer who will be responsible to prepare the trainees in the field they are trained for. So I'm not sure if that was the question, but that's how it should be. If you are asking about the training of the teachers or in-company trainers or coordinators, training coordinators, that might be a different approach, because there you might have some external parties.
Да, прашањето е кој ќе ги обучува наставниците и кој ќе ги обучува сертифицираните обучувачи во компанијата.
Yeah. Okay. No, there it's also okay. Then Renato, you might go ahead.
This is a specific case in North Macedonia. To our knowledge and information that we have so far, the in-company trainers should be trained and certified as such from the Economic Chamber of Macedonia, and this is by the law, I think, Article 40 in the vet education law. So these in-company trainers, as I said, should be certified and go through a training from the Economic Chamber of Commerce. If that was the question. For the other part of the question, I think my colleague Pavel provided the answer. Was it clear?
Да, значи во делот таму каде што се планираат средства, финанси за обучувачи, значи всушност таму да не планираме, тоа ми беше прашањето. Ако е стопанска комора и ако се тоа наставниците кои што треба да вршат обука, значи ние не треба да планираме средства од некоја друга сертифицирана компанија или слично во апликацијата.
You have to distinguish between the what is a mandatory requirement. So these trainers will be trained and certified by the Economic Chamber of Commerce. I'm not sure about if there is any, let's say, financial requirement there that you have to pay the chamber to do that training. For the rest of the trainings, and we'll address, I think, this later in the Q&A and live question. That is, and we will be much more clear after Mr. 𝗲𝗏 presentation. Yes, training measures can be, let's say, part allocated in the budget. Okay, so we get to this question later. I'd like to, I see many raised hands now, and I'm not sure if they are all.
Благодарам.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ljubica. I'm not sure whether all these raised hands are related to the section that my colleague is presented. I'll let him present another section and then we take questions. Thank you. Pavel, please continue.
All right, so let's then move on to section 2, which is about the Vocational Education Institute information. And here we have a basic information about VTI, and you will see at the top is lead applicant contact details, where you will need to click on edit, since you see the red asterisk as a mandatory field, and when you click on edit, you will see the little table with several fields where you need to check whether the information are completed or add additional information. And what I would like to highlight here, it's important that at the bottom you will see, please insert the country, and there please you need to select the country, because unfortunately the system does not recognize this field as a mandatory field. So therefore I would like you encourage to make sure that you select your country, to make sure that we understand the applicant origination, from which country the applicant comes from. In addition to that, we have several fields which you need to fill in, and there are like type of VTI, ownership of VTI, or specialization of VTI through selected or selection from drop-down menu, which is in the system. In case that in specialization of the VTI you can't really find exactly the specialization you are focused on, please try to select the one which is the most closest one, and then in addition please explain that in short profile of VTI. Then we ask about some numbers for staff, teachers, and students. For the students, here we are asking about the current number of students the VTIs has, and also the number of students enrolled in past 3 years. Here we are talking about the students which you really enrolled, so subscribe or approved to participate on your training programs. So only always the ones which have been admitted to the training institute. And short profile of VTI, here we want to ask you to write a short overview about your activities, your background, educational profiles, occupations you are training for, in general the organization and experience with the training activities, academic training activities. Then we have a field for grants and other aids received in past 3 years. Here again, very briefly, just to specify the approved amount, the utilization of the amount, and purpose of funding. Obviously, you can also state the grantee and the one which provided you support. Then experience from the cooperation with enterprises. Here we would like to see if you have any previous experience to work with enterprises. So list all relevant enterprise partners you have already from the past. And the last item here in this section is liability towards credit bureau, tax and employment authorities. Here again, I would like to highlight this is only the duties, the liabilities which have been overdue. So these are not regulatory duties or regular payments which you have and which you pay on time, but only those where you miss your payments in a certain schedule, payment schedule. And yeah, I mean, these payments are still overdue, behind the schedule, and you need to pay them in future. And if you have any, then there is a box where you can explain about those as well. Once the enterprises will join the application, this table of the lead applicant will be expanded also with the enterprises. And then please also make sure the information you edit here for the enterprises. So this is a section 2. If we have any questions related to this particular section, please ask.
Let's take some questions, Pavel. Mr. Leontic, please. If you unmute yourself, we can hear you.
Би сакала да поставам неколку прашања. Дали ме слушате? Дали се слушаме? Дали конзорциумот, партнер конзорциумите треба да учествува со 10% или е доволно е тоа вет училиштето или водечката, да речеме училиште што ќе биде партнер апликант да учествува со 10% учество контрибуција?
If I may,
yeah, Pavel, go ahead.
Friede, go ahead.
Well, this comes a bit later in the budget template. Quick answer to that: the 10% has to come from the members of the consortium. That can be the VTI, that can be a company, and it can be as well together from VTI and company. So there are the possibilities to.
Значи може да биде во ред, тоа ме интересираше. Би сакала друго да прашам. Дали освен тие 4 учениците што треба да се изучуваат првата година 15, наредната 30, дали може бројот да се зголеми, бидејќи ја имам потреба и од поголем број на конзорциум, затоа што имам многу колеги кои сакаат да се уклучат во овој проект, да земат ученици на обука, и повеќе ученици од 45 да изучиме, например 60-70 ученика. Дали е возможно да се зголеми бројот или има лимит?
No, there's no upper threshold. Yeah, so there's only a lower one. So the 15 in the first year and another 15 in the second year. But I would say the more the better. So if you can manage it, it's definitely good.
Одлично. Значи, бидејќи ние имаме 10 конзорциума, дали е тоа во ред? 10 фирми кои сакаат да земат на обука? И дали ќе имам место да ги аплицирам во апликацијата? Толкав број?
Pavel, that's for you.
Yes. Yes, indeed. You can fulfill the information up to 10 partner enterprises in the system. So it's fine with us. I mean, it's up to the
и уште едно нема,
consortium.
дали проектот може да трае година и пол, бидејќи сакат работниците, бидејќи имаат изгубено многу работници со корона, што побрзо од нив да ги запослат, дали може проектот да трае година и пол или мора да е 2?
No, it can as well be a year and a half. That is also okay. Sorry, Paul. A year and a half is
go
fine.
ahead.
Different possibilities. So it can as well be short-term courses, which are running more frequently, and in this sense have many participants. It depends on what is required and what the VTI offers.
Ви благодарам многу на прашање, на одговорите. Фала.
Welcome.
I would encourage you, in order to make sure we finalize this presentation today, that we ask only questions which are related to this particular section and the fields which are in the section, because all this is going to be mentioned later on, in follow-up sections. And if you don't hear answer, to your open questions, please then raise your hand and come up with your question. But, this way we are starting to discuss, all the issues which are mentioned later on, and then we might end up with half of the presentation and the time finished. So I would really like to ask you for patience in case you have other questions than that are mentioned in particular section.
Pavel, you're right. We have 10 raised hands now, and if we invite them all, you'll never finish your presentation. So the deal will be that now you go on with the sections, and I'll try to take all the questions and address them after you finish the presentations. Okay?
Okay, so we go to section 3. Which, as we are asking the general information about the VTI, we are asking this information also about the enterprises. So here, again, you have some text with the instructions, with the information, how to make sure that you complete everything what is demanded. And then the first part is about the contact details information. And then in the second part, you see some fields regarding the legal form, which is drop-down menu again, selection, economic sector, drop-down menu, the activity line. So this is just the one-liner. We would like to ask you to drop here, and then size of the enterprises to select whether it's a small, medium, and large. Then the numbers of the staff, total, managerial, and technical. The number for the technical staff is a number which is basically the difference between the total and managerial staff. So it represents everybody else employed by the company, whether it's working workers or support staff, etc. So all the people who are employed by the enterprise will be considered as technical staff. Then awarded certificates and qualifications. So if the enterprises or the staff in the enterprises are awarded with a specific or special certificates like international quality standard certificates or training licenses, etc., it will be we will be encouraging you to complete these here. Then we would like to ask you to make a short overview of the of the main activities of the enterprise, your position on the market, your available resources, what are your training needs, what sort of cooperation you have had until now with VTIs, and what is your planned contribution to the consortium. And here, the same question as we have with VTI, so liability towards credit bureau, tax and employment authorities, again, asking only about the overdue payments, only about the missed payments, which you have had with any partners. And in case you have, there is a field to explain, what are they and how you want to make sure you are back on track. And the last item here is NGA result in the year preceding submission of the application. We understand that the last year has been quite bumpy, difficult, more difficult than the others due to COVID. But yeah, we would accept if there will be enterprises making a loss last year. But at the same time, in the explanation box below, we would like to see whether the enterprise has been achieving relatively stable, solid results previous years, or at least there has been a positive trend showing, improving results over the past years. we want to make sure here that the partner enterprises are able to participate on this project until very end, at least until very end, and they have the capacity to go on and to sustain all the pressures from the market. And here I would like to say that we have created fields for 3 enterprises, but only 2 are mandatory as stated in the eligibility criteria. Just to finalize this section, I would like to show the final step in these sections for the enterprises. So once the VTI complete all the information in the application and they invite the enterprises, as I showed in the summary page, then the enterprises should review the full information, and then when they read these guiding notes, then you see that you have here a little declaration which you need to read through and agree, basically confirming that all the information annexes are true, complete, and accurate. So we are asking here to confirm by each enterprise through this finish contribution button their participation on the project. So once the information in the whole application is completed and all the enterprises are invited, then each of them will need to push this button finish contribution. And when all the participating enterprises will do so, only that will be the moment when the leading applicant, the VTI, will see at the end of the application the button submit application and will be able to submit the application. Any questions regarding the fields in section 3? But please try to limit yourself to these items and then we move on.
Is there any question related to this section? Let's take one question. Mr. Dragan, please.
Добро. Сега за сега врете, тука се консултираме со колегите, па ќе видиме за понатаму, ќе напишеме ако имаме нешто нејасно. Дали се слушнавме?
Yes, we can.
Се слушнавме? Да, се договаряме тука, веќе е јасно, некои дел не се јасни работи. Тоа што требаше да прашаме. Да.
Thank you. Pavel, please continue.
All right, so let's move to section 4, which is rather simple one. So here you are selecting in case you have more enterprises participating in consortium, more than 3, then you need to click yes here. And when you click yes, the system will automatically open fields for enterprises number 4 to number 10. So this will be exactly the same fields as you can see for enterprises number 1 to number 3. And here, just emphasize that if you open up these fields for number 4 to number 10, you will need and complete, obviously, all the information which are necessary for enterprises. Make sure that all these enterprises are also invited and clicking on button finish contribution. Otherwise, you will not be able to submit the application. Then we are in section 5. So in these sections, we are talking about the cooperative training, which is training program, which is subject of the application and subject of the funding requirements. So here we have a number of fields regarding the training program, whether it's a new or existing one. So it could be a completely new one, which is planned by consortium. In that case, there might be a situation that you don't have yet the certificate or accreditation of the program, and in that case, we are also giving a space for additional 6 months from the moment when the application is approved. So not the expression of interest, which is the first phase, but if you succeed with the expression of interest and you will be invited for the full application completion, then after the approval of the full application, you will still have 6 months to complete your authorization, approval of your training program with the authorities, if such is required. And in case you already foresee that period is going to be longer, then we encourage you to postpone your application and submit it in the second call, which is going to be announced towards the end of this year. So then you have sufficient time to finalize the processes. So here we have asking for title or titles in case there are more training programs. Again, if you have training programs which are somehow interrelated, utilize the same premises, same machines, tools, technologies, then you might apply with more than one training program, especially if it helps with the number of beneficiaries of the trainees, but it's not necessary. If you have just one program which complies with all the eligibility criteria, then you might stay with just one training program. Then the certification accreditation of this program, I already explained about that. In case there are more, please enter those training programs and the status with the certification accreditation here. Then we are asking about the sector in which the training program is going to be implemented. Type of training program, so whether it's a short-term or long-term. So short-term means this is usually represented by the various courses related to requalification or adult learning. And in this case, yeah, you might have shorter courses, less than 12 months. And therefore, we have the option here for the short-term courses as well. Long-term would be represented by educational, more typical formal programs, which are lasting more than 1 year, 1 academic year. Then you will see that we are asking about the duration in case of short-term courses in months, in terms of long-term on academic years. Then number of training places which you are going to create in the first year and second year. Obviously, second year is applicable only for long-term courses. For short-term courses, we are asking about the number of repeated parallel training programs. So you might have short-term, but repeated several times during the year. So that's what we would like to know here. Then about the start date, whether existing for the existing training program or for the new one, this will be planned or intended date. Then learning places offered by the enterprises. Here we stated fields only for 3 enterprises. In case you are going to create learning places for up to 10, let's say, enterprises, then we would like you to enter this information in the last box, which says additional comments. Trainees employed, another information which we are asking. This is the information which is not, let's say, it's intended or anticipating number of trainees which could be employed by the enterprises, but it's not a precondition which we are stating. So only we want to see if there is, let's say, willingness or capacity of enterprises to employ the trainees after they complete the training program. Then previous experiences with cooperative training. So here we would like to see if you have any practical experience with cooperative training form of education and training. Trainees employed, rationale of cooperation. So here we would like that you name at least 3 benefits which you expect from the cooperation between the VTI and the enterprises. And the last item here is resilience to situations like COVID-19. So we would like to see if the training program, which is the subject of the application, is going to improve the resilience of different situations, which would help VTIs or enterprises to overcome or to handle the situations like COVID-19. So this is section 5. If you have any questions which are related to items in section 5.
There's a question, Pavel, should we complete section 5 in the first round of this call, meaning in this application process, or is it supposed to be completed after being shortlisted?
Now, as you will find out, also in this section, you have red asterisks next to the field. So all these fields has to be completed. So answer is yes, you have to complete it.
Yes, and if you can explain the resilience of to the situations like COVID-19.
Okay. So this is, for example, that you apply this training program, which might have certain elements of digital technologies or the other aspects which would be able to handle, which will be able to continue with the education, with the training, even in situations like due to COVID, there has been, the schools or VTIs had to be closed, so the people had to study on distance. The same for the enterprises, that they not always have been able to welcome the students due to the limitations related to COVID. There might be other situations when it will be not possible. So we are asking whether your training program has any elements, any innovations which would help to cope with situations like that.
Thank you, Pavel. Please continue.
All right, so then we move on to section 6. So this is about the current status of your cooperative training capacities. So here we are asking that you have appointed a cooperative training coordinator in VTI, and then whether you have facilities available, equipment, tools, machinery, teaching materials, teachers, if there are any needs for teachers training, and then if you have support for operational and maintenance budget by the local authorities. Here you basically indicate already your needs of funding, whether you have, in place or partially or not at all the individual elements of your training program in place. Frieder will further discuss in detail about these individual categories. And then for the enterprises, again, for 3 enterprises, we have here fields for the cooperative training coordinator and in-company trainer or instructor, or what is the proper term. And here it could be also the same person. So it doesn't need to be 2 persons. We just want to know if there is somebody appointed within the enterprise, each enterprise which is going to participate on the project. And here we created fields for 3 enterprises again. So in case there will be, need to mention anything in addition, then you have also fields for additional comments here, or the fields in the status of individual coordinators for enterprises. Any questions here?
Not really, so we can move on.
Good. So section 7 is about the funding, the grant financing. Initially, here we would like you to explain about the estimated project funding needs. So it's more a narrative part where you will explain what would you like and why to finance. Then you select the country where the training program is going to take place. Then you select the local currency. These are from drop-down menus. And then you enter the information about the funding summary. So these are estimated numbers, the best guess you can make at this moment. These numbers could change. Of course, we do not expect they are going to change severely, but you know, they will be somehow adjusted. But as I say, this is the best guess you can make at this moment. And we created also a field for the local currency, which is, as you see, not mandatory, but if it helps the first enter the local currency amount, then you need to recalculate to the euro amount, which is important for this application. And then next to facilities, which could be a rehabilitation, reconstruction, or extension, but that needs to be very much related or directly related to the training program. So not the general ones, not the general reconstructions or constructions. We have also equipment, tools, and machinery which could be procured. And here we also have some questions whether it needs to be only new one. No, it could be also used equipment, tools, machinery which could be procured. And it could be also upgrade of existing ones. Then teaching materials, this could be either preparation or upgrade of existing ones, and the training, financing of training for cooperative training coordinators, teachers, and in-company trainers. There might be anything else which somehow doesn't fit into above, shouldn't be the case, but there might be some other needs, and Frieder will explain about this. Or operation and maintenance costs, which somehow there are certain categories which could be applicable, so they would be mentioned here under others. And at the bottom of the section, you will see the matching contribution. So as you know, at least 10% of total requested grant amount must be provided by the VET consortium partners. Doesn't really matter what's the proportion per partner. In total, it has to be 10%. And this could be provided either financially or in-kind contributions. And we also posted guidelines for the matching contribution on our website. So under the application package in English version of the website, you will see the guidelines on the website, what could be considered for this financial and in-kind contribution. In case the project requires co-financing, so additional funding, which is provided by external partners, then we also ask you to complete the information here and specify also the partners and their financial or in-kind contribution to overall budget. And last item here is total grant requested, which is automatic calculation of the field of the total grant from the euro amounts you are stating above. The same goes for the local currency amount, but obviously this is not a mandatory field. For us, it's really important one, the euro amount. So this is section 7. If you have any questions to the fields over here, if you want to discuss the details of the fields, then let us postpone it after Frieder's presentation, because he will show you the table with the individual categories which are eligible, which are not, etc.
I also think this is a good idea. As I'm looking at the questions, most of them are related to procurement and financial items. So you can address them after Mr. 𝗏𝗲's presentation. Let's take only one question here. Tanya 𝗪𝗏𝗧𝗵𝗏𝗏, please.
Hello, I hope you can hear me. I have one question about, do we need to attach somewhere the budget template, the project budget template for this grant? And the second question is, can we put inside the budget only costs that are for the, not the company, I mean only for, let's say, for a school, or we can put costs for the school and for the company? Thank you.
Да гледаме што би одговорило за да биде правилно или точен одговор.
Renato, I would suggest we keep it, you know, for Frieder's presentation, because this is really the content which Frieder is going to explain about. So let's keep it with that presentation. Yes. Is it okay?
Thank you, Mr. 𝗪𝗏𝗧𝗵𝗏. I will be answering the question later. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's then move on to the section 8, which is containing the supporting documentation. So these are the only documents which you need to upload. So no budget template, just to answer already the question we had just now. And memorandum of understanding is the first one. So the template can be found on the application package on our website. It's bilingual, so it's in Macedonian and English. And you need to complete the open fields, have it signed, and scan. And the document, scan documents we would like you to upload here from your computer. Then we would like to ask you to enter the date of the signing of the memorandum. Then additional documents which we are asking here to upload are licenses. So basically these are licenses or approval issued by a relevant authority that you can carry on the training and educational activities, and plus any accreditation of training programs which you have already awarded. Then there is accreditation document which is related to the training program subject of the application. So, and as I explained, maybe it's still in the planning phase. So if not uploaded, we are asking you to explain what's the status with that process. Letter of support. Here we again have a template on our website and the application package part where you can download it. It's in local language, and then you need to enter the empty or open fields to complete it and ask the relevant authority for the signature. And for the privately owned VTIs, they are obliged to upload the letter of support signed by the legal representative of the VTI. So basically by the owner. And the last document which we ask you to upload is enterprise business registration documents. So these would be the documents confirming the business registration for the enterprises and also for the privately owned VTIs, because they would be registered as a private businesses. Here I want to emphasize we are not requesting to upload any translations or certified interpretations, of the documents. All documents are sufficient in the local language, except this memorandum of understanding, which is bilingual. Then everything else is sufficient to upload in the form as it is available now. Any questions regarding the documents, supporting documentation you need to upload? Okay, so let's move on. So let's finalize this presentation, and the last section, number 9, is the section which contains declaration, which is basically confirming, similarly as with the enterprises now, I mean, the leading applicant is going to confirm basically that all legal representatives of pet consortiums confirm their the information which are in the application, and that all information is true, complete, and accurate. And you will see this button submit application once all the status for all section is complete, and all the enterprises which are invited to participate on the project would click on this button finish contribution. So that will be the moment when you will see the button submit application, and the VTI, the leading applicant, will be able to submit the application to RCF. So after submission, you will receive the acknowledgement email from the system confirming that you have submitted the application, and that has to be before 30th April, which is the deadline for the first call. All the applications which will be trying or attempted to be submitted after the deadline will be rejected, will not be accepted. And Afterwards, you can always come back, log into the system, and be able to view, to download your information, but you will not be able to modify it. So after the submission, after the deadline will pass, there will be a group of independent evaluators who are going to evaluate your applications, expression of interest applications, and all the applicants will receive a reply about decision, whether their application has been approved or declined at this moment. And all those who will be approved will be invited to continue to complete the full application, which will be in the same system, just that fields will be expanded for additional detailed information, which you need to upload or basically complete and upload in the phase of full application. So that was it, what I wanted to say about the portal. Any questions which you might have regarding the completion, you might address to applications@rcf-wb6.org, which is also mentioned in several places throughout the guiding notes. And obviously, you can also contact directly Renato with your questions. But if it comes to the applications, please refer to this email. So thank you very much for your attention. And if there are any further questions, then we will try to respond on them.
Thank you very much, Pavel, for your detailed presentation, I would say, and for providing all the answers to potential questions and to the questions that we have received so far. So I would like that we continue now with Mr. Ворман's presentation on the budget template and budgeting items. And we get back to the questions after that.
Good, thanks, Renato.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, as indicated earlier already, we'd like to to give you a quick overview of the budget template. And as Pavel mentioned already, it is not to be uploaded now for the expression of interest, and the information is not required at this stage. It is what is presented by Pavel, what we require here right now. Nevertheless, we think it's useful to think of the project in terms of what is required later on. In the project proposal stage, and hence a quick overview of the template and some explanations here and there, and then the possibility to ask additional questions. The template is consists mainly of two elements, two parts. We have on the left side the planning and the budgeting part, which we would like to see for a period of 3 years, different positions that will make sure that the project is organized in the proper way, and that nothing is forgotten. I will go in a minute a bit more into the details here, and then we have on the right side we basically have the sources of funding that will contribute to the project being sufficiently financed and eventually implemented, with the matching contribution here, co-financing element, and as well the obviously the RCF grant funding. I'll also have a quick look at that a bit later. To start off, the planning budgeting side of the sheet, where we have 3 main categories. First is the investments. Then we have activities and expenses related to the development of the cooperative training program. And then last but not least, one section concerning operating costs. The investments, relatively straightforward. These are the procurements and the purchases planned under the project. Could be machinery, equipment. Can be the rehabilitation of buildings, adaptation if necessary of buildings or classrooms, everything that contributes to the good implementation and execution of the proposed training course. Usually we expect the investments to take place at the Vocational Training Institute, and only in exceptional cases there might be an argument to have this equipment located outside the VTI. Yeah, but really exceptional cases only. Then here we have the preparatory activities, so to say, the training of the teachers, the training of in-company trainers, teaching and learning materials are to be developed, and certain advisory services. And these training of teachers and in-company trainers, there were some questions coming up in the chat in this context. This can be planned by the consortium in the first place, as it is required and necessary. So this can be costs for local training, but can as well equally be costs, if necessary, for international trainers. This will be considered at the application stage, and then questions verified from our side for the final approval. What we have here as well are the salaries and the remuneration for in-company trainers and teachers, as well as the cooperative training coordinators, which we also would like to see forecasted for the period of the project. The same applies for other operating costs. We have the OHS expenses, that's operational health and security. Transport, if applicable, of mainly trainees from and to or from to the companies. Insurance allowances for learners, utilities in order to operate a certain equipment in the classroom, and then the maintenance of the equipment that is being purchased. So currently we foresee 4 phases here. The first phase is the one of the preparation, so implementing most of the equipment related elements of the project, and as well the preparations. So this is basically everything that takes place between signing the funding agreement and starting the training course. And then we would like to see a forecast of the different positions for 3 years. Can be academic years, can be calendar years. That's a bit depending on when the course eventually starts. Obviously, operating expenses are expected during the running of the course mostly. Same with the salaries of teachers and trainers, whereas preparatory activities and the investments to be covered in this first phase. Good. Then I move on to the funding sources. As indicated already, we have the matching contribution, co-financing, that is by third parties, outside partners. We had the request in some countries where it's possible that either international partners contribute, municipalities, sometimes the ministries are interested, so that is the possibility to add this here. And this can be in any form, basically. If it's required and necessary for the successful implementation of the project, it should be added here. Can be machinery, can as well be in terms of training, can be teaching activities. Operating costs is a bit more difficult to imagine, but still. And then we have the positions here for what is eligible under the grant funding. And there are a couple of positions in gray. These are the salaries of the teachers and trainers and the program coordinators, as well as costs related to transport, insurance allowances, and the utilities, which are not eligible for funding under the RCF. So these, as indicated by Pavel, would be expected to be a part of the matching contribution in kind, so to say, as these costs are running anyway and should be calculated pro rata for the proposed training course, and as well over a period of 3 years. The total matching contribution, I think Pavel mentioned already, is 10% of the requested grant funding, not 10% of the total project, because of the co-financing element would increase this, and this should not be included in the calculation of the matching contribution. I think I leave it here, and Renate, rather we take some concrete questions in case there are. Happy to explain in more detail, whatever has not been.
Thank you very much.
Well enough. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And actually, there are quite some questions. We have one, actually. I'll give the word to Ms. 𝗧𝗵𝗲, as she asked many questions, so better to address them live. Yes, please.
Yes, live. Okay.
And if you unmute, we can hear you. And I would like to also limit this individual question and answering to...
Can you hear me?
Yes, please. Maximum 2 minutes in order to allow for other participants to ask questions. We cannot hear...
Во случај на два добри проекта во однос на квалитет, од кои еден проект е предложен од средно предпријатие по големина, а вториот проект исто така квалитетен е предложен од предпријатие со големина, големо предпријатие по законот за трговски друштва. Прашањето е дали средното предпријатие ќе има некакво првенство во однос на тоа што е по својот облик средно предпријатие во однос на големите компании. Во случај кога и двете компании даваат проект со добар квалитет, кој ќе има предимство?
We don't have any, so there's no guideline or no strict rule for mid-sized or large companies. So there's a certain interest to involve as many companies as possible to spread knowledge and know-how. But even if there's a very good, and I would say it's rather the quality of the cooperative training approach proposed that matters. And you just say they're both good quality project proposals. We would have a look at it, and if there are two really good ones, then we would rather go for financing both of them. So if they're good, they should be financed. We would rather look at the quality of the cooperative training proposed rather than to the size of the companies.
Ви благодарам.
Thank you. Mr. 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗵𝗶, please.
Thank you. I'll try to be effective. Several questions. The first one, is it possible, is it included refurbishment of the building, meaning with support, with investing in photovoltaic collectors? That's the first question. The second question is how good guessing should you expect to be now in this phase of the budget? Approximately, as it requires clarification from your side. Do we need, how much should be precise in this phase of estimating the budget that will follow in the future, and training of teachers and training of in-house trainers? Do you mean training with contextually relation to the equipment that will be supplied, or training with some indirect topics? This is because you mentioned in the previous session that there is a handbook or rules for procurement, so would like to know more about these details. Thank you.
Okay, good. Maybe I take it from the end. So the training of trainers and in-company teachers can relate to the equipment itself. That is true, but can as well relate to the delivery of training. So a training of trainers and some methodology can as well be proposed here. It is not so much relating to the procurement, as the procurement will be largely carried out by the fund management unit. So we would not foresee much of a training need there. Then the question of the refurbishment and the rehabilitation. All the investments, maybe to highlight that again, all the investment in equipment and construction need to contribute to the improvement of cooperative training. Yeah, if you argue now that putting a photovoltaic device on the roof can in one way or the other contribute to the quality of the cooperative training, maybe that must be a technical occupation, and that might be useful. Otherwise, general renovation and rehabilitation is not covered by the RCF funding. So there needs to be a link to the cooperative training program proposed. And the second question, Renato, help me.
How detailed should you expect to be?
Yeah, not very much. So it's really educated guesses right now. So we're aware of the fact that also depending on what kind of quality you propose, but as well we will have advisors looking at it. So it would be it would be to your best knowledge right now. This would become a bit more concrete and a bit more detailed in the full application. But even then, there's a possibility after the positive decision, if there's any, to review this with our advisors and come up with the final project budget, which then agreed with the consortium and the fund management unit. Decision required at this stage. So no big market research necessary.
Okay. Thank you for your feedback.
Thank you, Frieder. Thank you, Ivan, for asking. Frieder, as we are here in the budget discussions, there's a persisting question actually also from the previous session. As far as the infrastructure is concerned, I'd like to ask if we can include a solar panel for power supply from renewable sources for the requirements of the procured equipment. So to have, separate standalone source of energy for the procured equipment, if I understand the question.
Yeah, so if there's equipment, so if there's new equipment being procured in order to support the training at the VTI, and then part of this is a renewable energy-based power module, I think this can be included, yeah. As I mentioned before, as long as it relates to the equipment that contributes to the training cost, it would be eligible.
Mm-hmm. And what else?
And maybe even a positive, as it is, as it is in line with the obviously with the objectives of promoting as well green training facilities and to promote renewable energies as well. So would be fine.
Thanks, Frieder. And what else may the infrastructure include? Can it include restoration of floors, walls, ceilings, lighting, electrical installations, and so on and so forth? And this question relates to another question in the Q&A session. We had again that previously for the restoration of the floor or building a new floor underneath the machinery that will be installed there. So are these eligible items, measures to be supported by the fund?
Yeah. So if it's the adaptation of a certain workshop or training space where there is a new equipment being proposed as contributing to the training course, then as well the rehabilitation of the entire room with electricity, whatever is required, proper flooring, proper security measures can as well be included in the project.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Is it mandatory to pay off some fees to the students that shall follow the program, or this is up to the goodwill and the financial possibilities of the company?
Yes, that's the case. So there's no requirement. In some countries, it's required. In some others, not. It is very welcome if trainees as well receive some compensation, but it's not a must.
Is the enterprise obliged to insure students while following the training in its premises, or the insurance done by the VTI shall suffice and cover the whole training in the school and in the companies? I think we are referring here to the accident insurance, and yes. The answer should be that if the accident insurance provided by the VTI covers also insurance at the working place, then it would be enough. If not, I guess that this is a legal requirement as well. The company has to provide accident insurance for the trainees, for the students.
Yep.
There's a question, I mean, you addressed it in your presentation, Frieder, but worth bringing it up again here. While forming the consortia at the beginning, what was mentioned that VTIs and companies part of it are expected to co-finance the cooperation training project by making a matching contribution of at least 10% of the total requested funding amount that can be provided financially or in kind. Yes. Does it mean that it is not mandatory for the enterprises to participate in this 10%? I think that was clear, yes, from your presentation. Yeah. The matching contribution, just for general clarification, is a matching contribution of the VTI consortia to the requested funding for the project. What is the allowed difference between the funds stated in the application and the actual funding needs after the application is done? So if there's a allowed tolerance there and the difference, I mean, we cannot really tell that, but I mean, that should be in the proximity, so to say, of the final budgeting. If Frieder, you want to add something on that.
Yeah, as I mentioned already before, so there will be a there will be a review of the budget after a positive decision with the consortium and as well our advisory team, and then there we will agree on a budget that is being the basis of the funding agreement, and this should then be more or less implemented. We would not expect too many deviations then. What is put in the application and the proposal can still be modified. That is not cut in stone.
Thank you, Frieder. Does this call support project coordinator within the companies and school in relation to budget expense? I understand this question as, do we support training coordinator expenses?
No, the salary expenses not. The training expenses, yes, and the salary expenses, are very good to include in the matching contribution as they are incurred anyway.
There is a question, just a second. And this will be trained. Just a second. Will the equipment remain in the enterprise following the completion of the project?
Equipment will not be placed in the enterprise in the first place. So the equipment will remain at the VTI after the completion of the project, and should be used for training for at least another 10 years, ideally. So that's the setup.
Another question that it's good to bring it here. If at the moment of submission of the expression of interest, the VET institution has been active only for 22 months, will it be eligible since at the time of implementing the program, the VET will be active for 2 years? So the question is... Okay.
We don't have a clear cut there, so but yes, it's should be fine. But signing the funding agreement with 2 years, so we would consider that as the cutoff date.
And with regard, I think you mentioned that, Frieder, in your presentation, do we submit the budget in this phase or after our proposal is accepted? Okay, well, I mean, a general indication on the budget and fund requested should be submitted at this phase, whereas the budget template filled in properly and completed in the next phase. We are going to do a project for dual education with a high school. For this project, we want to build a new laboratory, only for training the learners from the high school. When doing the budget, can we include the cost for building and equipment of this lab inside the company for the high school students, or in the budget we can include costs only for high school? So this is a question from a company. They want to build this lab.
Yes, it's as I mentioned before. So the investment should take place at the VTI. That is the preference. If there are very good reasons, or that is for one, not possible to do is at the VTI. There might be a proposal to place it somewhere else, maybe at the companies. In that case, the equipment should only be used for training purposes and cannot enter the production process or whatever business cycle of the company. And it will be monitored throughout the project implementation.
Another question is that we want to involve students from 3 profiles. All 3 profiles are from medical fields, and there are similarities in curriculums, also in practical parts. And they have to practice from one other profile depending on the curricula. The question is this okay to apply, or we must apply only with one profile? So 3 similar profiles in the medical field, curriculums are similar with regards to the practical training, especially.
Yes, if it is if there's a training course proposed which combines these 3 different or different but similar occupational areas, that will be fine. So they should be using the same equipment for the training, and then that would be eligible. So no need to apply for whatever 3 times 3 different projects.
Thank you, Frieder. Should the companies from which the machines are being procured be companies that produce didactic equipment and not production equipment?
Not sure whether I understand that question. So if that's contributing to the training program, then yes, but we would rather as well expect some production and some some equipment that is being used in businesses.
And do they need to have a reference to having previously participated in equipping educational institutions?
No. No, if this willingness is now there to contribute in terms of engaging in the cooperative training, and we find there's no need to have done this in the past. It's of course more credible if companies have already engaged in this field before, but that's a separate question.
Okay. As we use licensed softwares for users in our enterprises, we would have to purchase them for our students. Does it have to be part of the matching contribution related to? Shall I repeat that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had a line.
We use licensed softwares for users in the enterprise, and they would have to purchase licensed softwares for the students as well. Can it be, or does it have to be part of the matching contribution?
Can be part of the matching contribution, yeah. That's covered if it's required, and the expenses are covered by the company and made available for the training. It's fine to include it.
What percentage from the budget can be allocated to the company? The company's request, for example, laboratories, is this cost possible to be allocated? So as I understand it, to build training premises inside the companies.
Well, the answer remains the same. So but we expect the investment to take place at the school or the VTI. So would very much recommend to plan and organize the projects around that that concept.
Yeah, thank you, Frieder. I think we take one more question. All questions in Q&A session are being answered. Also the ones in the chat session here. Can we please, yes, Ms. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 again. Let's see.
Дали ме слушате?
Yes, we can.
Ве молам, ги прегледав questions and answers, но да разчистиме уште еднаш. Ако конзорциумот аплицира за тотал 600.000 евра, дали matching критерија ќе биде минус 10%, што значи дека конзорциумот ќе треба да даде 60.000, а проектот 540.000, или од бараните 600.000 matching contribution се плюс 60.000, односно оние 10% од конзорциумот.
So the total budget would be 660,000, yeah. So it would not be deducted. 600,000 can be obtained from the RCF, and then the budget, if it's the 10% of the matching contribution on top, would be 660,000.
Was it clear, Ms.?
Благодарам.
Thank you. Mr. Leontić, please.
Сега е јасно, благодарам.
Yes, please. Ms. Leontić.
Здраво, би сакал уште нешто да прашам. Тие што се 10% контрибуција од конзорциумот, дали мора да бидат во парични средства или можат во натура како изнајмениот простор кај што ќе одат практикантите, на кој начин? Тоа не ми е јасно.
But the matching contribution can be either in cash, as we have mentioned it. So it would be a direct contribution in the investment. Let's say there's a machine being purchased of 220,000 euros, then 200,000 euros can come from the RCF, and 20,000 would be contributed by the VTI or a company, whoever partner is at the in the consortium. That is not a requirement, so there's no cash. There's no cash contribution as a necessity. The other possibility is to contribute in kind, which is mainly operating expenses that are covered by the consortium members, and can be calculated over a period of 3 years in order to indicate the contribution of the consortium to the implementation of the project. More details are in the guideline that we have on the website on the matching contribution. And if there are detailed questions, I think also fine to send us a mail. Then clarify if there are problems or unclarities with regard to a certain position.
Имам уште едно прашање, би сакала да прашам доколку има време, бидејќи ние би сакале просторот, тој е веќе опремен, но бидејќи работиме ние со фризерски козметички услуги каде што сме еден од загадувачите на хемиски производи кои ги користиме, дали може дел во адаптацијата на просторот, тој веќе 10 години, 15 години објект е релативно нов, е одржан, меѓутоа ние би сакале да го направиме екозелен центар и да добиеме сертификат за сето тоа што ќе го направиме. Дали е возможно да го вклопиме со овој проект?
Yes, if the part of the project that is as well the improvement of environmentally related issues or health and security issues, it can be included as well. Yeah. If I understood correctly, that was the question.
Oh.
Thank you. Any other question, please? We can take one more. Thank you, Ms. Sazdowska. She would like to thank all of us. Thank you as well for your participation. As we approach the end of this extended tutorial session, I would like to thank you all for participating, and I hope that all our answers and presentations has been useful to your application process. Since it is the last tutorial session, I would encourage all of you for any question related to the application process As my colleague, Mr. Pavel mentioned earlier, you can address them to the application's email, and other questions, you can address them to us directly, and we'll be more than willing to reply you at a convenient time. So thank you all for participating, and good luck with the applications. Wish to you a good remaining day. Thank you, Frieder. Thank you, Pavel.
Thank you, Renato. Thank you, all participants. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye for now.